Hello everyone, my name is Leo and with this video we will share the guitar gear news of the last month. Let's start! You know that Universal Audio started releasing guitar-oriented pedals since few years, with quite expensive units like the Golden Reverberator or the Astra Modulation or the Starlight Eco, etc. These pedals were priced at $399. Well, in the last weeks Universal Audio has not only lowered the prices of these pedals at $322, but has released also a new series of simpler and more budget-friendly pedals, which prices range between $222 and $242. These pedals are the 1176, which obviously mimic the famous Universal Audio Studio Compressor, the Evermore, which is a studio reverb, the Heavenly, which is a plate reverb, and the Orion, which is a tape echo. All these new pedals have a similar layout, with 5 knobs to control the parameters of the effect, like the amount of effect itself or the EQ. Then there is a switch to select different variations of the effects. Then, on the back of the units, we have a switchable true trails bypass and another switch to control another specific parameter of the effect. In terms of I/O, they all have a mono in and a mono out. This means that these pedals are mono, which is a big difference compared to the more expensive UA-FX pedals, which all have stereo outputs. One thing that it is not clear to me is how the type of effects offered by these compact pedals compare to the bigger versions. For instance, is the plate reverb modeled by the Heavenly the same plate reverb offered by the Golden Reverberator, or is the tape echo offered by the Orion the same offered by the Del Verb? I'm pointing it out because if the answer is yes, well, the more expensive UA-FX pedals would be, in my opinion, much more convenient to buy. I think that this is an area where Universal Audio could improve. I mean, they can clarify better the type of effects offered by each unit, for instance with the comparison chart, in order to understand the difference between the effects, especially when the effect is the same among two pedals. Please let me know your opinions in the comment section below, as honestly I'm now a bit confused about the UA-FX line of pedals, and it is totally not clear to me which are the differences in terms of effects offered by each unit. Then we have two interesting new guitar-oriented plugins that have been released, which are the Blackstar St. James plugin and the native instrument Guitar Rig Pro 7. I have already reviewed in the channel the St. James, so I would spend here few words about Guitar Rig 7. First of all, it is worth noticing that Guitar Rig was one of the first guitar amp modeler plugin ever released. In fact, the first version was released back in 2004, almost 20 years ago. Released in October 2009, Guitar Rig version 4 introduced improved cabinet and microphone modeling software alongside the control room feature, which allowed for greater customization of preamp, cabinets and microphone combinations, and this was a big jump in terms of quality of the tone. Actually, I have used Guitar Rig 4 for several years. In 2020, version 6 was released. This new version 6 included especially the intelligent circuit modeling, which is an amp reproduction system based on machine learning. I mean something similar to a profile version of the modeled amp. And finally now, in September 2023, we have the version 7, which introduces some interesting improvements over version 6. Let's describe them. We have around 100 new rack presets created by famous artists. Then there are new lo-fi components designed to distort our signal, or for instance to make our tone to sound like it was patched through an 80s VCR. Then we have 4 new amps modeled with the machine learning technology aforementioned for Guitar Rig 6, which is called ICM. These amps are the Super Fast, which should be a Soldano SLO 100, then the Reverb Delight, which should be a Fender Deluxe Reverb, and the AC Box, which should be a Vox, and the Bass Rage, which I guess simulates an AmpX bass amp. Furthermore, we also have some new ICM effects, like the Screamer Deluxe or the Seattle Fuzz. Lastly, I would mention the new loop machine, which is pretty nice, the redesigned IR loader with the selection of IRs made by a couple of pretty knowledgeable guitar producers and IR creators, and the new sidebar that I have to say is very useful. Basically, it allows to visualize and modify our effects chain with a signal flow feature that lets us quickly grasp our effects setup at a glance, meaning you can arrange and fine-tune your sound with ease. The user interface is pretty clear, even if not so ergonomic, I would say. For instance, sometimes it is not so easy to assess the specific effect I want to customize, especially if I have many blocks in the chain, as I have to scroll through the middle part of the user interface, sometimes getting lost. The sidebar helps, even if it forces us to shift our focus from one representation, the middle one, to the right one, and sometimes I tend to lose concentration and focus, having to switch representation. But maybe it is just a matter of time and confidence I need to reach with a new user interface. With the user interface out of the way, let's talk about the amps, the cabs and the effects. Well, you have a lot of amps, cabinets and effects at your disposal. With the amps and cabinets you have all you need in order to play whatever genres of music you may want to play. There are some really nice and cool effects, and some of them pretty unique for a guitar-oriented plugin. Furthermore, I have to say that also the basic guitar effects like reverbs and delays are thought out and well sounding. If I have to summarize, I would say that Guitar Rig offers the possibility to play many genres of music, even if in terms of pure amp sounds the simulations are not the best one available in the market, and in my opinion there are other options with more convincing tones. But for instance, for a producer that needs to have many sound options at his disposal for songs where the guitar is not the primary instrument, Guitar Rig 7 is perfect. Then we have some interesting news about amp modeling pedalboards, like the release of the ME90, the Ampero Mini, or the new firmware Core OS 2.1 for the Quad Cortex. I would not spend too much time on this news as I have dedicated videos on the channel, but I have to say that these are pretty cool units. I mean, with the ME90 we have the revamp of the old ME80, which is a line of products with a unique approach, having all tactile knobs. And I'm really enjoying this approach. On the other hand, with the Ampero Mini we have an example of how small and light can get amp modeling pedalboards, still offering an impressive amount of features. And lastly, the Core OS 2.1 brings a lot of improvements to the Quad Cortex, with also some improvements to the latency management, which are very welcome and in line with the suggestions of our community that we did in previous videos. Now I can't wait for the desktop app for the Quad Cortex and the possibility to load the neural DSP plugins inside the unit. These are gonna be super cool additions, in my opinion, enhancing a lot the value of the Quad Cortex. Let's now talk about some new TC electronic pedals. Few months ago, TC released 3 vintage amp-in-a-box pedals, which were the Jims 45, the DC30 and the Deluxe 65. Now, 3 high-gain amps have been released, which are the Jims 800 that mimics a Marshall JCM 800, the 550 that mimics a PV 5150, and the Dual Rec that mimics a Mesa Boogie dual rectifier. The layout is similar between all the models and to the Jims 45 that I have reviewed on the channel. We have 3 knobs dedicated to the high, mid and bass frequencies. Then we have the level knob and 2 specific knobs that varies according to the amp modeled. For instance, the Dual Rec has gain and tight specific knobs, the 550 gain and resonance, and the Jims 800 gain and boost. On the back of the unit and in terms of I/O, we have an input for the guitar and an output with only the sound of the preamp, without any cabinet simulation, to be used with an external IR loader or in the effect loop return of our amp. Then there is the DI output that provides also the simulation of some cabinets, and each pedal has his own specific cabinet, I mean the one that better suit with the amp modeled. Then we have a USB mini port to be used for firmware upgrades only. In fact, these devices cannot be used as an audio interface. Furthermore, on the side of the unit we have an headphone output just for silent practicing. And this is basically all in terms of I/O. We then have 2 foot switches, one dedicated to activate the booster that can be pre or post according to a toggle switch on the back of the unit, and the other foot switch is used to choose among the 2 channels of the amp. These units are pretty affordable, with a price of around 160 bucks, and obviously with a price like that it is difficult to find cons, as you may always say, Leo, for 160 bucks what do you want more? Of course, the price becomes more consistent if you want more tonal variations. For instance, if you want one pedal for distorted sounds and another one for the clean tones. In this case, being the price at least 320 bucks, I would suggest to check out also some compact amp modeling pedalboards, which can offer much more in terms of amp and effects. At the end, all in all, I think these pedals are perfect for someone who wants just a simulation of a specific amp and nothing more, and who wants to integrate this pedal with other effects, like some boosters, delays, reverbs, etc., building a fully customized ampless pedalboard. Now let's proceed talking about the release of 2 new audio interfaces. I think that audio interfaces are quite important for us guitarists, and since few weeks 2 upgrades have been released for 2 pretty popular products that are the IK Multimedia iRig HD-X and the Focusrite Scarlet 4th generation. IK Multimedia's iRig HD-X is a new guitar interface that adds to the iRig family a new multicolor LED signal indicator that can also act as a tuner, and a loopback plus that allows users to record or stream from AmpliTube into any other app. This allows us, for instance, to stream straight into Instagram, TikTok and other apps, making this a good alternative for any social media or content creator. In terms of I/O, it has a USB-C port, an instrument input jack, an amp out with a selectable FX True mode, and an headphone out. It maintains the 24-bit 96 kHz audio interface characteristics of the previous edition iRig HD2. And finally, the price is 150 euros. Then we have the Scarlet 4th generation, which comes in 3 variations that are the Solo, the 2i2 and the 4i4. All these new units are now using the RedNet converters available in the high-end Focusrite audio interfaces, offering 120 dB of dynamic range. In addition, Air mode has been renewed and we now have presence function along with harmonic drive on our input channels. The internal headphones preamp has been upgraded, providing with a higher dynamic signal than before and allowing to drive a wider range of headphones. The prices are now 130 bucks for the Solo, 190 for the 2i2 and 250 for the 4i4. So I think here we have an interesting upgrade for one of the most popular interface among us guitarists. And the Solo is very affordable still, I think, being one of the best entry-level audio interface you may want to buy. The last news I would like to mention is about the BluGuitar AmpX. As shared in one of my previous videos, the release date was supposed to be July the 25th. Well, unfortunately, the release date has been postponed to 2024. It's a pity, as I can't wait to try one of this unit out myself. In fact, I found this unit to have a very unique and specific approach that is also very promising in terms of tone. Basically having an all analog and configurable amp simulation approach. On the other hand, as I said also for other devices, once a unit is released, it stays out in the market for many years. Therefore, I prefer to wait some months but for a perfect product than to rush into production but with some compromises. So here we have unfortunately to wait until next year. And I really hope to be able to bring this unit to the channel and to all of you with many videos. That's all for the today video. Thank you so much for watching and see you soon in the next videos. Bye bye.